Yo, happy Wednesday, troublemakers. We are rolling into today talking about the used car business, talking about EVs and the sales models, talking about keeping it moving, because if you don't move, everyone else is catching up. So we got to move.
Everywhere I go,
Talking about
the
moving.
people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop when they see me.
Get the little side bounce thing going.
Run up on me, watch you fall to your knees.
Good morning.
I'm feeling 1999 all over the place.
We were talking this morning. I think it was when we first got on. It was like we started this kind of randomly, this little what's that? And then we're like, if you know, right? Like you can totally tell the year that you were born or the period you were born or alive in if you know what that means. What's that? So if you know what that means, let us know in the comments or shoot us an email. I'll be like, I understand exactly what that is. We're not going to tell you what it is. You have to know. And if you ask us in an email or a comment, we will tell you what it is. But there's a lot of stuff going on today specifically. But in this time period, a lot of things are converging right now. We should actually, the first thing is something we haven't officially announced, but let's officially announce it, is that we are having our next live event at Digital Dealer.
Doing it.
Monday night, May 9th. Save the date, mark your calendars. The venue is booked. The food, the drinks are booked. The sponsors are booked, right? We're about to announce all this stuff, and it's going to be a really good time. And here's a little difference. This time, first of all, the swag experience is going to be dope.
Yeah, really fun. Really fun.
Last year at this event, we did the hats, the flat brims, and everybody signed them. I think I'm going to bring mine. I might get like a little glass case to it really is still my prized possession.
That'd be so smart.
But this time we're going to ratchet it up. Should we just talk about it?
We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We'll give you a little precursor and we'll say this, that how many events do you go to that you get a swag bag and you're like, I didn't want even half of this.
Everyone, you're like, oh,
every single one, right?
Thanks for the sales card. I'm going to make sure that doesn't make it back home. Thanks for this ball. I'm going to make sure that stays in the hotel room when I leave. Yeah,
exactly. Not this time.
We don't play that way. We don't play that way.
Hey, I've got one more thing before we get rocking. Check this out. So, a buddy sent a little card and a little poker chip. But this is what's really cool. It's a little poker chip that they had at NADA, and then a card. And it's handwritten. But one of the lines in it is just, I can't begin to express my gratitude for you and Paul and the whole ASOTU team. Something special you are doing. And it's really cool because here's what's interesting about this. Like, this person is in the tech side of the industry, and is not a sponsor of ASOTU. We don't do business, like not out there referring things, never have like brought it into a dealership, and yet saw it fit to, and also talk about like, congrats on my baby girl, like reach out. And that's why I love our industry so much. It's that it really does feel, we've talked about this so many times, it really does feel like family. And so, to the person who's listening or watching that knows who they are, thank you for this handwritten note and something that I wish I could have gotten at NADA, but wasn't able to be there. And so I just wanted to shout out that I know that so many people in our industry do that with like expecting nothing back. And so thank you to our industry, because I've gotten a lot of that. We've gotten a lot of that, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Man, that's so great. Well, there's going to be more of that on May 9th.
Yes.
At the family reunion, right?
Go.
That is where I love the fact that people are connected that have nothing to do with the monetization model or anything like that. Because
bingo.
Really, I was listening to the Seth Godin podcast. It's called Akimbo, Akimbo, this morning. And he was talking about companies and he was talking about capitalism, but saying like people that do things because there is a passionate community around it and they want to cultivate that before they're trying to like make money. He said Steve Jobs almost ran Apple around twice because he was focused on beauty, right? And doing things because they're beautiful and meaningful. And, did the phone have to have less corners, and like they paid, Johnny Ive and all these people millions of dollars to make it beautiful. And the stock price didn't reflect that for a really, really, really long time.
Right.
So I feel like ASOTU, when he was listening to that, I was vibing with it because I was like, man, I feel like ASOTU, like we exist and we do things because it's beautiful and it's important. And there are other people that feel the same way. And we've had probably at this point, maybe not hundreds yet, but people that have said, you let me know that there were other people out there that think the way I think and care the way I care. And
That's a big deal.
like monetization and all of that value comes after we figure out why we're doing what we're doing together, and we just do it because we don't have time to sit around and like let's build a business, right? It's like,
yeah,
no. We got to unleash this energy in the industry.
Yep, exactly. And I think that like if you have never come to one of our events, like you might just want to come to Digital Dealer only for Monday night, because
people did that last time. People did that. They literally drove in for Monday night.
Exactly, because the spirit of the people in the community is so strong and so resilient and excited about what our industry can be, and just being around other people that feel and think the same way can energize you for months. I believe so.
Yeah. And so we'll a lot of announcements coming, what we're going to be doing, who's going to be there, mark the date, March 9th. We're trying something new this year, dealer tickets. We're actually going to be paying for all the dealers to come. So dealers don't have to pay a dime. We'll let you know how that's working out. And also vendor tickets, we're going to keep them real reasonable, but you're going to get all the value back in swag, in food, in drink. So our goal is that like the money you spend to get in, you're like, that was the best money I've spent on this entire trip. So more enough talking about that until we have actually the specifics to tell you. But there you go. It's coming in hot. Mark it right now. May 9th, Monday night. Mark your calendar. Make sure you are there. We'll be there. The whole crew crushing it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about some news. So CarMax annual share or quarterly shareholder report. I love watching these things. I love reading these things like CarMax's, when Carvana's, all the publics, because they basically give you an insight into their business and they give you their strategy moving forward. So get this. So their pre-owned CarMax, their fiscal Q4 ends at the end of February. So they're just reporting on it now. So their Q4, they sold fewer units. So their pre-owned sales numbers and units sold dropped 5.2%. However, their sales revenue increased by 33%.
Yo.
I sold 5% less vehicles and I invoiced or billed 33% more dollars.
Most dealers be like, yep, we know that. We know that game. Absolutely. Right. So I mean, I don't think it's a shocker to anyone in the industry. It might be outside of the industry. People are like, right. But I think inside the industry, we've been playing that game for a hot minute. So yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So what I like about the CarMax thing is very retail facing, right? Because it's publicly traded, because they're just a used car dealer. So I'm reading this from the release. They said they bought, actually, I want to get to this in a second. So the affordability issue is not only present, but it has rocketed to the front seat, I think, in the last 30 days. I'm sorry for some noise. They're doing some construction around me. So if you hear a random screw gun drill, it's in the ductwork down the hall. So I'm going to stop trying to keep muting it out. I think the average price of a vehicle was up $8,000 to just under $30,000. Like, this is a real thing now. People are staying out of market because of it.
Yeah. I mean, over 2019, you're talking about $200 a month in payment. Is what most sources are saying between new and used cars is the average payment increase, and the number of 72-month loans going out is at an all-time record high. So you just think about like what people are having to do to get things close to the budget. Now, there is increased cash on hand. There is increased, down payment money, and trade values are keeping up with retail values. So we're not seeing the massive inequity because of this yet. But I think the reality that people are walking into payments that 2 years ago they never even thought of paying, and having to be willing or needing to pay that. This is crazy. I heard a story of a couple days ago in a dealership. There was a 3-way fight over an Accord, and someone was telling the dealer, I will pay $5,000 more than those other two people, whatever their highest offer is, to get that car. Like, this is a real story happening in a dealership. So
what market?
I don't no, it's a northern market. It's a northern market. So we'll go with that.
Yeah. So it's crazy regardless of the market. It's crazy.
Yes,
5,000.
it is. It's
well, So my wife
Accord. for an Accord, y'all. I mean,
Well, that's you,
nothing
bro.
against Honda, but it's not like we're not talking about a Mercedes or a,
like 38 miles to the gallon in that sucker.
Right. You're like, I'm gonna make, and right now I'm gonna make that up in a year.
Yeah.
Right,
So
coming
my
out of a
wife and I-
truck or something.
Without a doubt. I mean, no, this is, I mean, the inflationary just mentality that we're in. You know, the reports coming out yesterday were another 5.8%. Like inflation is just really peaking, feeling it in every area. Automotive, obviously, you couple that with supply shortages. My wife and I took a day and we'd had a little trip, came back. My mother-in-law was with the kids. She was like, we got pizza last night and it was $53 for one pizza, a dozen wings, and this crappy salad. And I looked at the invoice. I'm like, yeah, it's getting expensive. And 10 actually wasn't even a dozen wings, 10 wings, $15.99. Every wing is $1.60. Remember 25-cent wings, 50-cent wings?
Oh,
What is it now?
Yeah.
$1 wings is going to be a big deal. And so, like, maybe it's the chicken wing indicator, but there's a shortage of chicken wings too. All that to say, like, oh my gosh, like the nature of us needing to move and pivot is more and more. And you know this already. Let me read this because I think this next line from the shareholder meeting really sums up a lot of where a lot of people's focus is going, and I think needs to continue to be. So they said they bought approximately 324,000 vehicles from consumers. This is a 69% increase over the prior year's quarter. So like year over year, they bought almost 70% more vehicles from consumers. 162,000 of them were purchased through our nationwide online instant appraisal offerings. For the fiscal year, 1.4 million were bought. 1.4 million vehicles were bought from consumers, which is a 95.5% increase over the prior year. So let's be honest. Acquisition is everything. They've leaned in. And,
I've got so much to say about this, but acquisition is everything. Absolutely. And you need to be like dealers that aren't paying attention to having some sort of acquisition strategy in the service lane and direct from consumer are missing out on a massive opportunity. Because if you think about this, right, is they were able to increase basically 70% year over year in consumer purchases. So those vehicles were going to do one of two things. Either they were going to get purchased by a private party or a dealer, or them, right? So they were just going to be direct sales, or they were going to be traded somewhere. But because of the ease of transaction, they went to Carvana, and because of the advertising strategy. But here's the real where the rubber meets the road here, and where, like, don't get afraid of this as a retail dealer and look at where the opportunity is. Think about this. If you divide that, and I'm going all 50 states, but if you divide 324,000 by the quarter, which is 3 months, you're looking at just over 100,000 per quarter, meaning per state on average, they're buying 2,000 vehicles in each state. That's not a lot. There is so much opportunity out there to go grab this, and don't let the big box retailers take market share, not just from the sales side, but also from the acquisition side. So creating a strategy to combat that locally. Google will prefer it. Facebook will prefer it. Your local impact in an acquisition strategy is there for the taking. And Carvana is just proving that the market is there for it.
It's CarMax.
That's all I'm saying. Or CarMax, sorry.
Yeah. This isn't even Carvana. This is CarMax. You know, it's nice to have, like, CarMax has been kind of a leading indicator that a lot of dealers have looked to say, what are they doing? How can we understand it? Right. Because it's also public and it's also open. And there are plenty of people, even in our ASOTU ecosystem, that can really give you a lot of insight into acquisition. David Long being the first one that comes to mind. And a lot of tools. I never thought about this, but remember you used to spiff people for if they buy a car?
Yep.
Like, why don't you just like take your whole workforce, in some cases that's thousands of people, and saying like, hey, let people know if we buy their car, we'll give you $250, right? You can buy more chicken wings, expensive chicken wings now.
No, but you can buy more chicken.
Really, I mean, there's a lot of people that know a lot of people, and like, hey, this is the best place to buy a car, right? So, that's probably we probably beat that.
I always say this: the absolute best 50 marketers in your store are all 50 of your employees. So whether they're telling everybody that you buy cars or sell cars or service cars, they should be telling everybody all of that.
Yeah, and it's easy. Make it easy. Gosh, Last line from the CarMax story. Total revenue was up 49%. Total earnings slipped by 28%. So there you go. Another, again, a whole lot more money came in, top line. A whole lot less money we kept. So it's just kind of par for the course. So we got a couple more things to do, and we'll put this in between. One of the things we want to talk about leadership principle today, and that's like literally momentum, keeping moving. Not even momentum, it's just keeping moving. There's a combat principle: if you're not moving, you're dying. And you realize successful people, successful dealers, successful business owners, they keep moving. You cannot hunker down. You cannot stay in one place because you have your little thing protected. The second you do that, right, everything else is moving around you. It's not stopping, and it's going to move away from you. Speaking of moving a lot.
Stop.
Segue.
Time.
Let's ask some questions about EVs. I think this next season is going to be a lot of
let's poke the bear just a wee bit.
Just a little bit. Poke it just a tad. All right. So there is a lot of EV structure formulating, like it's like circling the runway, right? All these things,
Yes.
like when's it going to land? What's it going to look like when it lands? When it lands, what's coming out of the cargo area? Like we don't know. And so as we've been talking to some dealers and thinking through this, there's some major questions that I think we need to talk more about in this ecosystem, and I think spur the conversation. Number one, like what is the margin structure going to look like?
Yeah.
What level of training is going to be needed? What are the OEMs going to do? What will sales compensation plans look like? Like, what are they going to look like from the OEM? What's their recommendation going to be? What are dealers going to do to incentivize their people? Because the truth is, like, it's just going to look really, really different.
Yes. Yeah. When the major players are going to direct to consumer, there's no compensation plans needed within that model. And so OEMs are looking at that going, well, looking at the dealers going, what are we going to do about that level of margin that we're kind of quote unquote giving up in one way or the other? So either they're going to retain that margin or, force dealers to make changes in that. And dealers are going to have to get smart and savvy. I was actually having a conversation with a marketing director yesterday, just talking about, how dealers need to be recognizing that moving toward a similar model of, software as a service or service as a service is going to be really important over the next 4 to 5 years. Thinking
is service as a service a real thing?
What?
Service as a service? I've never heard
No,
of it.
I mean, I might have made it up, but I was just saying, like,
I was like, I'm so far. You're usually ahead of me in this stuff.
No. I think I made that up, but like my mentality around saying service as a service is that like software as a service is built on recurring revenue model, right? Is, increase recurring revenue, decrease churn, keeping the pipeline full of money every single month. Yeah. And so service as a service for me is meaning, how do I keep recurring revenue in the pipeline every single month to build on top of EV sales, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a play on words there for me, is how do we get recurring revenue into the dealership that is maybe not in a way that we've done it in the past. And we might not be able to sell software, but we might be able to sell service as a recurring revenue stream, whether that be servicing the vehicle, servicing the electric, all of the things that require electric across the house, maintenance packages, upgrade packages, things like that. So thinking about those type of revenue models, I think, is going to be important for dealers that don't just want to, be siphoned off to become used car dealers with fancy delivery centers.
If the Mach-E profit model is any indicator of where we're going, $300 to $500 a vehicle, the end, period, end of story. Right. I mean, it's one thing when that is like kind of an add-on to your current product offering and you get to be the first to have it and you get some inventory allocation, right?
When that's everything.
Quite a bit when every dealer on the block has an electric offering, when most of your vehicles are EVs that are being ordered. Like, there's a lot of questions, because $300 to $500 is like one of these moments. Like, that's like, they used to call that a spiff. Right?
They used to call that trunk money. Actually, not even that. It was like
Now it's front trunk money.
Right.
The only money in there, right? Because there's no edge. No, but for real, like, is what is going to happen with that, and what are the other monetizations around that? One thing that came up, and I haven't heard anyone talk about this yet, but we were talking about subscriptions, right? And that a big source of revenue in EVs is going to be the subscription model. Like, do you want the enhanced this? Do you want the updated that? And if you want that, you got to pay. Like, do dealers get a portion of that subscription money? Right? Like,
there's no way. There's no way they're passing that down. The ones that have it already don't. Like the app-based services, like your fancy Kia, right? True. They don't pass that down to the dealer.
Yeah. Well, winter's over. I don't need it anymore. Made it through this winter without remote start once again.
Unbelievable.
You can take it, Kia. Give me a call if you have a problem. I love it too. It's a shame. It's a shame. But we're going to talk more about these things in the near future. I know we're going a little long today because we haven't talked in a couple of days. But really, these are the issues that if we're paying attention and if we are moving and if we are having these conversations, I think OEMs and dealers like banding together to work out something that's reasonable on both sides, right? Let's try not to make it contentious. Let's try to make it like synergistic. And for every dealer out there, every single one, whether you're new, used, whatever your situation, whichever OEM, it is a gold rush to be the one in your community that educates on EVs, that becomes the center of the conversation for EVs in your community. If you're not thinking that way, oh my gosh, you're losing already, because somebody, think of it's beachfront property right now. If you become the name around EVs, not just your brand EVs, but EVs in general, become the coolest place, the center point, the most education, become that person. And by the way, like TikTok is a good place for that in your community. Everyone's like, well, what do I use TikTok for? Educate on EVs. Become that place. And regardless of what the dealer spiff program is, you can actually win the EV race, but you have to start paying attention now, because somebody else in your market is going to, if you don't. And because remember, the used car business is going to be the used car business after the spiffs and after all that stuff. So get good at EVs. That's our secret.
There you go.
I don't know, man. We went really long today. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there. We're excited about what's going on. There's a lot to talk about, a lot going on. Sign up, ASOTU.com. Get on the email list, and we got more announcements about our Friday event, March. I have to keep talking.
Go.
If you're still listening, May 9th.